All right, so welcome to another Deep Dives. And today we're going to be tackling, I guess you could say, a really interesting part of the cricket world. We're diving into this Reddit thread that's been going crazy over New Zealand's record in ICC tournaments, specifically against India. It's gotten pretty heated, and we're going to try to make sense of it all.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because, it's really raw, unfiltered fan reactions. We're not getting the polished, commentary. We're seeing hopes and anxieties and even, some superstitions around these huge matches.
Okay, so here's what's got everyone talking, right? New Zealand has won, would you believe it, 2 ICC titles. And both times, you guessed it, they beat India in the final match.
We're talking, for everyone listening, the 2000 Champions Trophy, and then fast forward, the 2021 World Cup.
And it goes deeper than just, who won and who lost. Fans have picked up on some pretty interesting patterns. For instance, some users have pointed out that in both of the photos of New Zealand celebrating their win, Rohit Sharma, India's captain, is on the left side of the trophy. I saw that. It's like, are fans looking for some kind of, I don't know, a sign, some omen about how future matches will go? I mean, come on, it's probably just a coincidence, but it's fun to think about.
For sure, for sure. And yeah, speaking of looking ahead, the thread is full of predictions. Some fans are absolutely convinced that India's got this in the bag this year. They say, well, the team is rested. They haven't had to travel as much as other teams. They're fresh.
Yeah, and on the surface, that seems like a really good point. But some other users are like, wait a minute, remember last year? New Zealand just totally dominated in the Test series against India. Like, it was a whitewash. Every single match. It might not be so simple.
Yeah, that's a great point. You got to look at recent performance, not just, overall stats. And that's when things get really interesting, because then you see fans going deep on strategy, like what are the best tactics? A big question is, should New Zealand just try to bat first and set a massive target?
Yeah, there's a ton of talk about how New Zealand might really struggle to chase down a big score, especially, facing India's bowlers. This actually brings up another thing that keeps coming up, how strong India's spin attack is.
Yeah, and this is where it helps to know a little cricket lingo. A spin attack means bowlers who are really good at making the ball spin, which makes it, super hard for the batsman to guess where it's going. And India, they're known for having some of the best spin bowlers in the world. They use this to their advantage a lot, especially in those middle overs.
Okay, so for anyone who isn't sure, middle overs are like this crucial phase of a limited overs match. It's usually somewhere between overs 10 and 40. That's where teams are trying to, score runs faster and really build up their momentum. And the thing is, some users are saying India's spin attack is so good during those middle overs that it'll be almost impossible for New Zealand to keep up.
And what's really cool is that they're not just saying this, they're giving examples. Like they're saying, remember that time this New Zealand batsman just couldn't handle this Indian spinner? They're really backing up their arguments with, details and analysis from past matches.
It's like having this global panel of, cricket experts all chiming in, but it's not all serious, tactics and stuff.
Yeah.
There's this hilarious discussion about, the law of averages and whether it even applies here.
The law of averages, yeah. Here's where things get a little superstitious, a little, playing with probability. Some fans are like, look, India has lost 2 finals in a row to New Zealand. So statistically, they're due for a win.
Which, if you think about it, doesn't really make sense, right?
Yeah.
But it's all part of the fun. Everyone's just getting hyped up for the match.
Totally, totally. And, even if the law of averages isn't really a thing here, I get why people are saying it. They just want to believe that their team can beat the odds, right? That they can get over whatever happened in the past and win this time.
It's like this mix of hope and, actual analysis. And then a bit of wishful thinking. That's what makes these conversations so fun to read. And you know what? In all this back and forth, you also see a lot of respect for both teams.
It's cool to see, even when it's this big rivalry, fans can still say, hey, both these teams are good. You see a lot of comments about how solid New Zealand's bowling is.
Yeah.
How they can handle the pressure,
Yeah.
They don't crack.
And then there's tons of praise for, India's batting. I mean, they're known for it,
Yeah.
right? And you can't forget about that home advantage.
Yeah, home advantage in cricket, that can be a big deal. It's like familiar pitches, the crowd's going wild, even like little things about the weather and the conditions. It can really benefit the home team. And in India's case, well, they've got those passionate fans. And the conditions often help the spin bowlers, which, like we were saying, that's one of their biggest strengths.
Right, exactly. So some users are saying even if New Zealand gets a good score, defending it against India's spinners on their home turf, that's going to be tough. But we got to remember, New Zealand has beaten India before, even recently.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Remember that test series we talked about, the whitewash? That was in India. So, I mean, home advantage helps, but it's not a guaranteed win.
Which brings us to something else interesting from the thread.
Hmm.
This idea that New Zealand kind of like thrives as the underdog. In these ICC tournaments, they've done way better than people expected time and time again.
There's something about them, like a resilience, a mental toughness. They're not always the flashiest team, but when it really counts, they just step it up. It says a lot about their team culture, you know?
And you can see that underdog spirit in the comments from New Zealand fans. It's not like a cocky thing. It's more like this quiet confidence. Like, even if everyone thinks they'll lose, they know they can pull off a surprise.
It's funny how the fans kind of reflect the team's personality, right? New Zealand, they just quietly go about their business, never give up, and that makes them so exciting to watch.
And it's not just about India and New Zealand in this thread either. A lot of fans are just, well, they want to see someone other than Australia win a big tournament. Australia's been on top for like forever. People are ready for something new.
Yeah, I get that. It's human nature, right? We like to root for the underdog, the team that shakes things up. And in this thread, New Zealand, they represent that possibility.
It adds a whole other layer to everything. It's not just about, your country or who you normally cheer for. It's about wanting the sport to be exciting, wanting things to change.
Which brings us back to India and New Zealand. What we're seeing here, it's like stories colliding, different styles clashing. These two teams, they always seem to make for a thrilling match.
And as you go deeper into the thread, you see fans getting really specific, like breaking down who will be facing who, what could be the turning points of the game. There's a lot of talk about New Zealand's star players, Kane Williamson and Trent Boult, and how they'll need to have amazing games if they want to win.
Right. Williamson, the captain, he's known for being like really calm, collected. He can hold the innings together, keeps things steady. And Bolt, well, he's a left-arm fast bowler.
Yeah.
And he can swing the ball both ways, makes him super dangerous.
So fans are pointing them out, saying, if these guys perform well, New Zealand has a chance. And on the Indian side, well, everyone's talking about their batting. Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, KL Rahul, these are big names.
Yeah, these guys can single-handedly change the game. They score runs fast and they can hit the ball like really hard. Fans are expecting them to put on a show.
It's almost like we're seeing the game play out in advance, Fans are making their strategies, thinking about how each team will approach the match, how they'll try to outsmart each other. It's amazing, This whole Reddit thread, it's basically become a place for fans to be like, here's what I think, here's what could happen. It's like we're crowdsourcing the pre-match analysis.
And some of the things they're saying, it's not just random stuff. It's really smart. They're noticing little patterns, like how individual players act, even giving advice on what the teams could do.
Yeah, like one comment I saw, they were saying New Zealand's only chance is to mess with India's momentum. Specifically during those middle overs.
Yeah.
They said target the middle order batsmen because those guys have struggled before against certain types of bowling.
Right. That kind of thing, you wouldn't hear it on regular commentary. But these fans, they know these teams inside and out. They see things that maybe, the commentators miss.
Yeah, it's like having this network of scouts all over the world just watching and giving their feedback. But it's more than just, the technical stuff. You can just feel the excitement in the thread, everyone getting ready for the match.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. All this anticipation, the energy. Everyone's talking about old matches, what might happen this time. It's like they can't wait.
That's what I love about doing these deep dives. It's not just about, looking at the stats, who's going to win. It's about the human side of it, the passion, the rivalries. It connects people from everywhere.
Absolutely. And it's cool how this thread shows those big stories around each team. New Zealand, everyone thinks of them as the underdog trying to do the impossible again. And India, the powerhouse, trying to prove themselves after losing to the Kiwis twice.
So much history, so much drama. And as we get closer to the final match, the big question is, can New Zealand do it again? Or is this finally India's time to win?
That's the thing with sports, you just never know. We can analyze it all day long, but what happens on the field in those big moments, that's what matters.
So for everyone watching the final, remember, it's not just a game. It's years of work, dedication, this whole rivalry. It shows how powerful sports can be. It brings people together, and the story isn't over yet.
Who knows, maybe someday we'll look back at this Reddit thread and say, wow, those fans, they really predicted what happened.
Well, until then, enjoy the match. Anything could happen. That's what makes it fun. Let's see what happens.